Revolutionary greetings, family. The purpose of today's address is to bluntly dispel one of the most damning lies under the sun, the ongoing narrative and suggestion that white people are superior to all other races and that black people are inferior. The unfortunate reality is that many, if not the vast majority of South Africans, believe and live through the fallacy of these two complexes. I want to draw your attention to the staggering irony of this wildly held belief system that has caused African giants to go to sleep and European criminals to dishonestly prevail. I will begin by defining the terms fallacy and white supremacy. Then I will demonstrate how unfitting and incoherent the idea of white supremacy is by juxtaposing historical and present day realities. Lastly, I will illustrate how the lie is maintained through propaganda and highlight our urgent need as Africans to wake up from this deep sleep. A fallacy is understood as a deception and misleading belief. It is a baseless or unsound claim. It is a failure in reasoning which renders an argument invalid or a belief false. White supremacy, on the other hand, is an institutionally perpetuated system of exploitation and oppression of black people by white people for the purpose of maintaining and defending a system of wealth, power, and privilege. White supremacy is a term used to characterize various belief systems, central to which are the following notions. Whites are genetically superior to people of all other races and that they should have dominance over them. Another notion is that white people have their own culture which is superior to all other cultures. It must be clear at this point that white supremacy, or the notion of white superiority, is a narrative that justifies the wicked deeds of white people. It's a psychological plot that yields economic and political benefits for its schemers. The notion of white superiority is a scheme of organized criminality, which ironically criminalizes those it oppresses while it enjoys the benefits of the true crime. How many times have you heard that black people are the biggest perpetrators of crime, that they are lazy or uncultured? How many times have you been stripped of love for yourself and for your people, made to feel like a suspect for anything and everything that goes wrong? Such a narrative has damning psychological casualties, such as a compelling feeling of inferiority. The output of the white supremacy system is to induce black inferiority. Our feeling of inferiority is a pre-arranged colonial project. It's all a psychological chess game where black people constantly blame themselves for their own social ills and are always suspicious of each other, while the instigators of all the mess that black people find themselves in enjoy political and economic benefits without looking guilty or getting their hands dirty. How did we get to a point where we blame ourselves for being raped, for being looted, for being criminalized, for being offended or massacred, and love the very people who carry out these atrocities? White supremacy suggests that whites are genetically superior to other people and should dominate over them, as I pointed out earlier. Well, let's destabilize this fallacious notion. In human genetics, mitochondrial Eve is the most recent woman from whom all living humans descend in an unbroken line purely through their mothers and mothers of their mothers, back until all lines converge on one woman. The place of origin of this woman has been found to be in East Africa. That's needless to say that she was black. How can you be superior than what preceded and produced you. While we are on genetics, let's also talk about melanin briefly. Melanin, referred to by many as God's particle and by others as the chemical key to life, is more than just skin pigmentation. The truth about melanin has been buried in science and left out of modern educational studies in an effort to keep blacks in the dark. Melanin, also known as chem, means black, which is inspired by Egypt's ancient name, Kemet. This is where the word chemistry comes from, the study of melanin particles. Protons and electrons are examples of melanin particles. Dr. Imhotep Laila Africa from the African Health Tube says that melanin is associated with Egypt's genius civilization. He states that melanin repairs broken DNA. He says the more melanin you have, the more information that your brain can store, and the faster your nerve transmissions are. The more color you can observe through your eyes, and the more sound range you can hear through your ears. In other words, we are the only race that can hear a full range of sound and that can see a full color of any object that we look at. The more melanin you have, he says, the more your taste buds can taste and absorb the full taste of food. These are just some of the benefits of melanin, not all. Although white people have some melanin, it is at a minimal proportion in contrast to black people, who are highly melanated. So they are in fact genetically constrained. Melanin governs all elements of the universe, which might explain why we have such a harmonious relationship with the sun and the universe at large. The sun doesn't burn us or hurt us. We are synchronized with nature. Now tell me, how can you possibly be more genetically superior? It must be clear, family, that a huge part of white supremacy is based on envy. European people, out of jealousy and absolute insecurity because of the civilization of Kemet and other African nations, they have fabricated stories that have given them a sense of importance and advancement. This leads me straight into my next point. White supremacy holds that whites have their own culture which is superior to other cultures. It is interesting to note that the first civilization in the world was in Africa. Africa set up governing systems, laws, institutions, and cultures before any other nation in the world. It must be stated bluntly that there is no such thing as Greek philosophy. Everything we know about Aristotle, Pythagoras, Plato, Socrates, and many other Greek philosophers is actually false. All these people stole from Africa's legacy. They came to Africa as students to learn of Africa's wisdom and to learn of its cultural systems. Not only did they stay there for more than 20 years studying from Kemet's bottomless well of wisdom, but they ultimately looted the royal libraries and went to start their own institutions using our manuscripts. Talk about plagiarism. The Greeks did not carry any culture or learning into Egypt, but they found it already there. How then can you claim your own culture to base your superiority? Today we credit thieves, we credit thugs, criminals for Africa's brilliance. This continues to happen. Africa is being looted even today, making other civilizations look better than us. But this happens at our expense. It happens at the expense of our resources, at the expense of our brilliance. Propaganda is the form in the form of media and miseducation are the ones that maintain the lie about white superiority, because lies need to be maintained. Whites can never compete with us on a playing field without deception. They try to continuously suppress us in every way they can. They throw everything they can at us to distract us. They've kept us from sports, for example, for a long time. They've kept us from sports for a long time, for instance, because if we dare get a fair chance, then we become the best. Let us into golf and we become Tiger Woods. Let us into athletics and we will be the fastest man, Usain Bolt. Give us tennis and we will give you the Williams sisters. Give us boxing and we will give you Muhammad Ali. Give us rugby and we will give you Magazole, Mampimpi and Sia Kolisi. Give us the beauty pageant and we will take Miss Universe through Zozibini Tunzi. It is clear that you cannot compete with melanin. This is indicative of one thing, family. No matter how long a lie may be sustained, the truth will eventually prevail. Although our people have bought into the lie that they are inferior and that white people are superior for a long time, we are regaining our consciousness. We are waking up from our deep sleep. You may bring up an eagle as a chicken, but there comes a time where it realizes that it belongs in the skies and not on the ground. Family, the time is now. Let's spread our frail, untested wings. It is time to arise. Arise, black child, arise.